I think almost all luthiers can agree that the top is the most important part of the guitar in terms of sound. The back, on the other hand, is sort of a supporting factor in the whole equation. So I've heard it described as the spice of a guitar's sound, or the color in a guitar's sound. And I totally agree, but there are also other variables to take into consideration. Certain types of wood lend themselves better to active backs versus reflective backs. A good example is if you use mahogany as a back, that's going to be very active unless it's braced in such a way. By having an active back, it actually makes the guitar project outwards less and be louder in the vicinity of the player. So that could be because mahogany is fairly lightweight. It's also very dry and porous, so it would actually absorb some of that vibration better than a rosewood that's really resinous or something like that. So what's better, a guitar that has a reflective back or a active back? It's totally dependent on the guitar player's or maker's taste. Personally, I think that there's a place for both. From a player's perspective, if I'm playing on the couch for myself, I prefer the sound of a very active back. And that just, in my opinion, makes the player's experience nicer. The sound is not totally projecting out from the guitar, it's also sort of projecting out of the back, and it's sort of around the player more than out. Now, if you're a professional player that plays in music venues more often, you might like a reflective back better, partly because it's a little bit more of a controlled sound, and I don't think that's necessarily a good or bad thing. I just think it's a clearer sound, more separation between the notes. It's just a different sound. I think one reason why I like the sound of an active back personally is because there's some interplay happening between the top and the back, more than in a reflective back. And that interplay, it almost creates another dimension to the sound. It's almost like it makes the notes work better together, like they actually musically meld together better. Again, that's a personal taste. It might not be what you like. So another way of looking at it, or how I like to look at it, is that the guitar has to put out a certain amount of sound in terms of vibrational energy. And if you take an active backed guitar and play it and then put your belly against the back, it'll actually put more sound out of the front of the guitar, because you're stopping the back from absorbing those vibrations and reflecting them out of the back. So there are a few considerations of what makes a back active or reflective. There's the bracing for one, and then there's the thickness and the mass of the back. So a heavier back will obviously reflect more sound. It's not going to absorb as much of the vibrational energy. And a heavier back is usually a higher frequency back, depending on where the weight is on the back, I suppose. So a wood like ebony will be more reflective than a wood like mahogany. One more thing to take into consideration is the actual surface of the back itself on the inside. So if you have a back that's high gloss and shiny, it's going to reflect more, kind of like a room with drywall as opposed to a room with carpet on the walls. It's going to reverberate more as opposed to actually absorbing more. So your back is going to reflect more as opposed to absorbing and actually taking part in the sound production of the guitar. So I think these are things to take into consideration if you are building a custom order for somebody. If you have somebody that wants to play the guitar solely for themselves, I would always lean towards a more active back guitar. And that just distributes the sound more to the player as opposed to shooting out the sound hole and off the top to the front. Otherwise, if you have a guitar that's going to be playing in music sessions, or a guitar that's playing with other instruments on stage, you might want a guitar that projects better and cuts through the noise a bit better. So reflective back there is a good idea. Also, if you stand while you're playing, the guitar is usually against your body, so you can take an active back and make it inactive. What's better? It's totally subjective. I don't think one is better than the other. I think they each have their place. Other guitar makers might not agree, but I'd be curious to know what you think. What would you like more, an active back or a reflective back? And your experiences too. If you want to share, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you on the next video.